Hi fitness friends, this is Anita Stone with Video Fitness Coach TV. I'm glad you're here joining me today. I'm going to tell you my osteoporosis story. Well, back when I started teaching aerobics, that was back in 1997, we hadn't even heard of the word osteoporosis. Of course, we lifted weights in our weightlifting classes and in our aerobics classes, but we did that to gain muscle, not knowing that it had any effect on the bones or the bone density. So I did lifting weights. I even got certified and started doing barbell classes, weightlifting with the barbells. If you've done any of that, that's a really good class to do. And so I've been doing all of this for about 11 or 12 years. And so this last year, when I went to the doctor, got my annual exam, and I told the doctor, I said, I would like a bone density exam. And so the doctor said, okay, you'll need to go over to this other place, and they'll do it. It just takes about 5 minutes, and it's called a DEXA, and so they have to write a prescription for it. And so I went over, and you lay down on a table, and they basically take like an x-ray of this part of your body, from the hip bone down to the thigh bone, because this bone, the femur, is one of the biggest, or I think it is the biggest bone in your body. And so they're looking at your hip and your thigh, and they take about 2 pictures, and you're out of there, and it's done in 5 minutes. So I went home, and I thought, wow, that was really easy. And went home, and about a week later, I got a phone call from the nurse at the doctor's office, and she said, oh, you need to come in and talk to the doctor. Please come in this week. And I thought, well, I hope there's nothing wrong with I got a mammogram at the same time. It worried me a little bit. And then I got a card in the mail the next day that said, your mammogram was normal. Thank you for coming in. Be sure and do your mammogram every year, and that type of thing. And I thought, well, it wasn't the mammogram. And the nurse called me again the next day, and she said, oh, you haven't called us back. Be sure and come in this week. The doctor really needs to talk to you. And I thought, good grief, what they find cancer in my hip bone or something? Because I knew it probably had something to do with the bone density test. So I called the nurse back, and I said, I really don't have time to come in this week. Is it something serious? Oh, yes. The doctor really needs to talk to you. And I said, well, can you just tell me what it is over the phone? I was getting a little irritated with her. Here I am. My cholesterol's normal. My blood pressure is normal. I thought, what possibly could it be? I'm sure I'm not dying. And she said, well, your bone density test came back, and we've diagnosed you with pre-osteoporosis. And I basically just told her, you must have my x-rays mixed up with someone else's. I didn't say it in that tone of voice, but I was thinking that. And I said, I've been doing weightlifting for over 10 years, and we're talking about serious regular weightlifting, not just weightlifting with 3-pound weights every once in a while. And I said, and I eat calcium about 5 times a day. I don't think anybody eats more calcium than I do, because I'm a really big milk drinker and yogurt eater, and I eat cottage cheese every day, if not twice a day, yogurt every day. I eat cheese. I just love dairy products, and I eat them all the time. And so she said, well, you really need to come in and talk to the doctor. I assure you, we don't have your x-rays mixed up with someone else's. So I went in there, and I talked to the doctor. And if you'll look at the scale, you can look this up on the computer. When they're talking about osteoporosis, they've got, if you go down into the negative numbers, then I was just barely under normal, which means that there was a slight bit of bone thinning. And it's called osteopenia. It's kind of like pre-osteoporosis. And so the doctor wanted to put me on one of the osteoporosis medicines. And I said, why would I have this? And so I went over the same thing with the doctor. And he said, well, if you wouldn't have done all that, it would be worse. And so I went home, and I thought, I'm going to get on the computer and do some research about this. I mean, I knew the basics of osteoporosis, and bone thinning. And so I got on the computer, and it took me about 2 days of just going through every single website I could find, websites and blogs, and when I finally kept rereading the same information that I had read over and over again, I figured out that I had probably found just about all there was to find about osteoporosis on the internet, and I got a lot of information. But one of the things stood out to me that I read, and it's something that I didn't know. It said that if you were a sedentary child, or if you were just not active up to age 30, which I wasn't. My favorite place was my nose in a book. All my life, still is my favorite place, curled up on the couch with a blanket reading a book. And so I didn't play any sports as a child. I didn't do any exercise through my 20s. I didn't even start exercising regularly until I was 34 years old. And so since then, I have been, but I was not active up to age 30. So I didn't set my bones up for strength before, and so now I will have the tendency to have thinning bones in my later years. And so that's something that I noticed, and I thought that was fairly significant. Now, if you'll do other reading on osteoporosis, you'll also find that there are certain body types and even nationalities. For example, Asian women tend toward osteoporosis. Petite body frames, the tall, thin frame, like you're petite but yet you're tall, that body frame also tends toward osteoporosis. So I'd like to encourage you, whether you're young or old, if you haven't had a bone density test, to go get one. And if you're not doing any weightlifting, women, especially you, even though this does happen with men, I want you to go get that DEXA test and have that done. It only takes 5 minutes. It will take hardly any time out of your day, and it's very worthwhile, and it's something you definitely need to do. And add weightlifting to your exercise routine every week. Don't just do it off and on. This has to be regularly done, regular exercise. And you can come in, I don't do exercise outside. I just like to be inside this gym with my air conditioning and my music and my friends, and for me, that's what makes exercise fun. But whatever you enjoy, do that. You've got to be weightlifting though. You have to be doing resistance training is also what it's called. It's called strength training. So when you go into your gym, get a schedule of the classes they have and pick out those classes on the schedule and make sure you get to 2 or 3 of those classes a week. Well, I hope what I've shared with you will help you with your health. And thanks for joining me on Video Fitness Coach TV. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.